We're hot.
Tain't no big thing to wait for the bell to ring. Tain't no big thing, the toll of the bell. Aggravated, spare for days. I troll downtown, the red light plays. Jump up, bubble up, what's in store? Love is the drug and I need to score. Showing up, hit and run. Boy, go back. Can't shake free.
The mothership has landed. Pirate Radio. Welcome to the jungle.
Ladies and gentlemen, live from the broken down, low rent, sleazy, double greasy Pirate Radio Nut Hut Studios, it's time for the very first ever Southern.
CPR Street Gang, this is all fighting. Standing by, over. CPR Street Gang, this is all fighting. Standing by, over.
Right now, it's 12 o'clock, Americans, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines,
clocks run out. Time's up. Wind is blowing cold and dark. On the road and no way out. A broken house, a smoking gun. On the run. On the run.
I think this next song has to do with the very next address on Lonely Street.
It's Tuesday night. My name's Jimmy. South to Mouth FM. Great show planned for you tonight. I want to thank Clyde Lewis for a fantastic show. Doc McCarran's here. We got Mike from Conspirazone's here. Epic Journeyman's here. I'm here. And now, you're here. Into the microcosm. It's on the air.
At USC. I hope that nobody here is affiliated with USC. If you are, keep everything I say a secret. I had one of the star football players in my class. I told the class they could write a story about anything. He wrote a story about wanting to fuck his teacher. Honestly, very nice. Jamie Goldstein. Very close. In that story, he said that he wanted to have sex with the teacher on the handlebars of his bicycle, and that afterwards she would like it very much and feel fulfilled. I was like, you took the teacher's pleasure into account. B+, baby, right? Not everybody does. You have to reward them when they do. I look young, so the female students always email me really familiarly in like lowercase letters. One of my students emailed me, she goes, "Dear Amy, I won't be coming to class today. I took the morning after pill and I don't feel well. ... You know how it is." I was like, why do I know? Of course I know how it is. I was like, stay home, I use the NuvaRing. It's very confusing.
Sex and drugs and rock and roll is all my brain and body need. Sex and drugs and rock and roll. It's very good indeed.
Epic Journeyman. Are you there?
I am here.
Excelente. Well, you got thrown off there. I was off by a couple seconds, wasn't I?
Well, yeah, I'm messing around with the new VR app, so my hands are slower.
All right, well,
They
listen.
move fine, but I'm slower in the draw.
Yeah. Well, look, you're going crazy, and everything's going wild over here.
I was sweating so hard I ate some ice cream.
Everything's going wild over here. So, good to see you, bro. I got the headset earlier today, and we can talk a little bit about that. But, there's some things going on here, quick style. So why don't we get Mike from Conspirazone. Mike, are you there? Mike Sherwin.
Yeah, I'm here.
Fantastic. So how's everything going up there, man, with you? Good to see you. Glad to have you. The doc's here. Doc McCarran, I muted you. Doc McCarran, are you there? Come on in. Let's just get it on so you get you in here involved in some of these early discussions here because there's things going on in the news, aren't there, Epic Journeyman? So now you had mentioned that you noticed something. You noticed this article, and why don't you bring that article to the table, man? Let's get this ball rolling. I have a couple things here too, because there's a really special eclipse or partial eclipse coming up, and it's what's called a beaver moon. We're going to be talking a little bit about the beaver moon, and also there's some conditions that you got to be aware of. And this one's definitely for the ladies. I ran across an article earlier today. It looks like it might be some good information, so we can get into some of that. But Epic Journeyman, why don't you get into what you found over there, and then we'll get into the beaver moon and this condition that the ladies should be aware of coming up here in the dark winter of 2021. So what did you find over there?
I'll tell you. Yeah, what I found is the most frightening thing I've seen in years, if it's true. It's supposedly true. I only have a couple sources right now. The Yahoo News article broke it first, apparently. It was about the FBI and the Centers of Disease Control finding questionable vials labeled smallpox inside a Merck facility outside of Philadelphia. And it was 15 questionable vials. 10 of them said vaccinia, and 5 just said smallpox. And they have like the label, showing the label in the article, with the dosage, and it's a typical ampule, like you'd expect to find of any kind of vaccine, I guess, except that it says smallpox on it. And the thing about this is smallpox. I mean, we're talking about some kind of virus today that people are worried about. This thing was the bane of mankind for thousands of years. I mean, if it was to get loose today, it'd kill a third of the world's population potentially. It's no joke, man. So we don't want to have any stray vials of smallpox floating around.
Well,
yeah.
Do me a favor and keep a copy of that third of the population there, because I think we got a question for Doc later about the third of the population. But listen, okay, listen. So before we get into it, before the Doc comes on, this story reminds me of a video game.
It does.
Okay, it reminds me of Tom Clancy's The Division, because that was called Dark Winter. Okay, and so this is the scenario for Dark Winter, ladies and gentlemen. Let's take a go back in the Wayback Machine, and remember Ubisoft's Tom Clancy's The Division, Dark Winter.
In 2001, a real-world exercise tested the emergency response to a bioterror attack on the continental United States. The operation was called Dark Winter. Within just a few days, the simulation spiraled out of control. The operation predicted a rapid breakdown in essential institutions, civil disorder, and massive civilian casualties. Dark Winter has revealed how vulnerable we've become. Our lifestyle, our security, our safety depends on a delicate and unstable economy. We've created a system so complicated that we no longer understand how to control it. Oil, power, shipping, transport. We live in a complex world. And the more complex it gets, the more fragile it becomes. The system is built on a global supply chain that gets things where they're needed, just in time. We've created a house of cards. Remove just one, and everything falls apart. And what's fueling this system?
Money. Americans can spend $90 billion in a single day of shopping. Last year, 200 million people swarmed their local stores on November 23rd. We call that day Black Friday. Did you know that a flu virus can survive on the surface of a banknote for up to 17 days? One day, there will be a pandemic. It could begin during the crush of Black Friday sales. A pathogen will jump from tainted banknotes to human skin, onto food, toys, children, and loved ones. By the time patient zero feels the first sore throat, millions of people will already be infected. From this point, the breakdown will happen fast.
Day 1, hospitals will reach capacity. Panic will strike. Day 2, quarantine zones will be established. Resources will be rationed. Transport will go into lockdown. Day 3, international trade will stop. The oil will dry up. The stock market will collapse. Day 4, the power will fail. The shelves will be empty. The taps will run dry. And once hunger and despair take hold, people will do anything for survival. By day 5, everyone will be a potential threat.
In 2007, a new presidential directive was signed quietly into law. This maps out the government's response to a crisis, a plan to cope with a real dark winter. It is known as Directive 51. There are rumors of shadow agencies, sleeper cells, covert agents, but nothing can be confirmed.
Our complex world is primed for breakdown.
And once the chaos strikes,
there won't be resources to save us all.
The only question left is,
is it the microcosm? Dark winter is upon us. I don't want to chitter chat. Either pump it up or turn it down flat. Epic Journeyman. Now you're bringing it up, man. You brought up the smallpox. You had to. Now, I was under the impression, personally, now I just want to throw a wrench in this scenario here. And maybe you guys can clear this up for me, because I was under the impression that money is made with a specific kind of scenario that keeps and kills anything that gets on it. The paper money. So is that true or not true? Could a smallpox virus, Doc, exist for 17 days on a banknote like they said in that video game trailer there? You're muted, so just remember you're muted. You're muted before you answer. Okay, so you're still muted on Skype, the Skype mute. So they said that it could survive for 17 days on a banknote. Is that possible?
In 2001 money, I imagine so. Who knows what nanotech they're sticking into banknotes these days. I know you can get it's around the Tokyo subway stations. There's all these signs that the handrails are impregnated with silver.
Yeah.
As a well, it kills everything basically.
Yeah,
silver.
well, I mean, money used to be made of gold and silver, which also kills, bacteria. So does copper. They used to put all the handrails everywhere were brass and copper, specifically because that kills germs. I mean, but they got rid of all that stuff at the hospital. Don't ask me why. Get rid of those copper handrails, man. Don't you understand? We're trying to make money around here. We're not trying to cure people. We're gonna spread that around there. Get that handrail. Get that thing out of here. I mean, why would they do that? Why would they do that? It's in a for-profit medical situation, I guess. So, you want people to, Anyway, no, I'm just joshing. But, yeah, so, I mean, I know at the beginning of the particular thing that's going on now, I had been doing technology in the retail environment, putting systems into grocery stores. And I remember at the beginning of that thing, that's what I was thinking to myself. I immediately put rubber gloves on just because I was going in those stores. This is before we knew anything really, and I just was trying to, this way I could take the gloves off and throw them away or whatever. But then I was talking to the girl at the counter, and I said to her, how come you're not wearing any gloves or whatever? And she thought I was getting smart. Like, she thought I was saying something to her, like the health department would make you wear gloves or whatever. I was saying it because I was thinking to myself, because I work for the company, and I was thinking she might have some family at home and sitting there taking bills all day at the store. You might come home with something. I mean, is it possible to move this around through the money system, Doc?
Theoretically, yes. There's again, I don't know. There's all these plastic notes now, right? Which are strange constituency, so I don't know about that. But
could this be?
Think how long are banknotes in circulation?
Well, what if they're just, yeah, I mean, could this not be the actual the dialectic for the transferring over to the digital currency? Because money's so dirty. Look what it did to us with that dirty mouse pox over the Thanksgiving weekend, the outbreak. Don't touch that money, man. Get rid of it. Your money's worth nothing. All those hundreds under the mattress, they just turned into nothing. You can't pass it.
Yeah, I mean, we have to be very careful right now because I want to just get serious quickly because there's multiple elements colliding together right now. One is the obvious release of pathogens which do have a lab origin. There is the supply crunch, which again, I'm still not getting that. How what was working a few months before just doesn't work anymore. They can't get ships. In the meantime, in Europe, they closed down Nord Stream pipeline, and gas prices shooting through the roof. This doesn't make sense to me.
Yesterday in Lancaster, California, I saw somebody took a sign of a gas station, $9.90 a gallon for diesel in California. $7 a gallon for regular. Now, Lancaster's in the desert. It's in really nowhere that people are at. But here where I am, it's $5. So I don't know why it's $2 a gallon more there. But the point is that you're 100% right. And did you hear that what they were planning on doing is establishing a fine system? That they would fine you $100 per container on your ship for as many days as you were there. So it would be cheaper for those ships to turn around and dump their shit into the ocean than to sit there and wait and unload it. So what is going on in our country when are these people on our side? I mean, are these people our enemies? What is going on here, man?
I think we can firmly put them in the enemy camp. The question is, do people know that they're working for the enemy? And it's difficult to find the words right now because it's so unprecedented. What historical time period can we go to where we can say, oh, that played out like that, we can expect the same? I can think of world wars, but
you know what? So I'll just to chime in. I'll let you finish, but let me get back to you in a second here. Something occurred to me.
Okay. All right. Well, listen. I don't know what happened there, but something occurred to Epic Journeyman. And
Well, because it's important. It would have to do with them. I'll have to finish. So I was reading about the money, and according to Forbes magazine, the you know how reliable they are on this, but they say that the current virus, as we know it, lives on paper money 28 days.
What is that noise?
28 days. So now it sounds like a washing machine tumbling or something in the background, huh?
Yes, tennis shoes in a dryer or something.
Yeah. But
is that me?
So I don't know where that's coming from. I don't hear it now.
Yeah, I don't hear it either. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, but this is interesting because 28 days. All these movies are always 28 days. Zombie movies, apocalypse movies, zombie apocalypse. All this, everyone, right? But what I started thinking about, you start talking about the ships all back to back off the coast, just sitting there. And back in the day, they used to put those ships in quarantine. They used to be stuck at the pier side for 90 days. Maybe what's going on here is not that they suspect this might tie into the smallpox thing. Maybe they suspect some other agent is out there, and they're keeping them quarantined off the coast because they don't know which one has it, how many have them, and this is the cover story for that.
There you go. I mean, that is totally possible. Maybe they know of a plot that something is on something out there, and they are stopping that from getting onto our shore. Maybe. It's always possible. I mean, I always, when I see something like this, I'm always going to look at it from the nefarious side, obviously. Because, I mean, at this point, we don't know who or what we can trust anymore. We got people telling us, all these different things, and, we don't know who we can trust. Let's take a listen here. Here's 28 days later. Let's take a listen to this trailer since you brought it up. Damn, I'm already terrified enough and they haven't even said anything. 28 days later. People are running day 20, devastation. Here, I won't play the sound. Hold on. Let me tell you what the next thing is. Oh, man. That's the guy waking up. Anyway, 28 days it stays live on money.
That's from Forbes, yeah.
Okay, look, that's just too much. Wouldn't you think? Wouldn't you? I don't know. Come on, man. Wouldn't you think of this ahead of time? It's not like this biological threat has just happened. Now, last week, Bill Gates came out and said that hey, everybody should start running germ games. Well, let's start running some germ games. Now, did you happen to hear anything from this Dr. Martin report that came out? A lot of people have been talking about it over the past couple of days, and I haven't had a chance to see it, but apparently he's come out and, point blank said what you've been saying the whole time, which is this is a biological weapon.
I haven't read it. I'm, how would you say? I'm skeptical somewhat of David Martin still. He's got known associates with Hillary Clinton, World Economic Forum, and like I say, maybe that was long ago. He's a changed man, but you've got to be very, very careful at this time right now because of this gaming that they're doing with these agents. When this started, Event 201, I was like, well, yeah, they run all those events all the time. There's not it probably could just be a fluke. But the more we dig into these, the characters involved, the organizations involved. We find this stuff goes back decades. The simple one being 9/11, where there was, if anyone remembers, but there was anthrax being sent round, and that was actually tracked back to Fort Detrick.
Yeah, I remember.
So I want people to be very much on their toes right now with respect to what could and couldn't happen, and how is it the Smith-Mundt Act that they called it in the US, where they're allowed to now engage in psychological operations against the US public?
Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So everything has to be put through that lens. Everything has to be put through dual-use technology lens, and the oligarch class at the top have probably decided that rather than destroy their nice cities and what have you, that the more humane way is to slow attritional warfare through biowarfare agents. And now that SARS-CoV-2 has popped, you can expect more. Once the seal is broken, there'll be more. And am I surprised that we find files of smallpox being they just happen to be found, right? Just leave this smallpox here, shall I? And so how is the public supposed to react to that? I would actually say, if there was really smallpox, considering that it's one of the extant biowarfare agents of the Cold War that the public know about, right? There's files in wherever the places in Russia, and files kept at the Fort Detrick again.
Mm-hmm.
You should be, and put on top of that the introduction of this new technology with respect to transfecting you to get you through each new pathogen that we bump up against. This is the fact that there may be cargo that's suspicious offshore. Yeah, why not? I mean, the Chinese think, or are putting out, this is daily in their news cycle, right, that it's America who's the cause of SARS-CoV-2. Right? They don't talk about lab leak or lab origins as from their side. It came from the United States. And the sad thing is that it's very difficult for me as a scientist to dismiss that, because we know, well, Fort Detrick doesn't have the most spectacular of records, including their database of biowarfare agents being taken offline in the summer of 2019, just before SARS-CoV-2.
It's all too much. Well, listen, we're on the break. Mom's Jimmy. That's Doc McCarran. Epic Journeyman's here. Mike's here from Conspirazone. Be right back. It's Aftermath FM.
In the right place, but it must have been the wrong time. I'd have said the right thing, but it must use the wrong line. I've been on the right trail, but I must use the wrong car. Head is in a bad place, and I wonder what's good for. I've been in the right place, but it must have been the wrong time. My head is in a bad place, but I'm having such a good time. I've been running, trying to get hung up in my mind. Just got to give myself a good talking to this time. Just need a little brain salad surgery. I got to cue my insecurity.
It's Aftermath FM. Don't forget, right now, $79 a year instead of $10 a month.
But it seems like a wrong on. 'Cause I've been in the right world. But it seems like
On June 1st, 1996, John and Joyce Edmonds purchased a ranch in Rainbow Valley, Arizona. What has ensued for the past 2+ decades defies all accepted understanding of our reality. Portals, aliens, abductions, incursions, and life-threatening confrontations. Stardust Ranch has become one of the most compelling paranormal stories of the last quarter century, studied by multiple agencies, public and private, and featured on countless documentaries, including Ghost Hunters. Stardust Ranch remains one of the most compelling mysteries of our time. Get your copy of Stardust Ranch, The Incredible True Story, available exclusively on Amazon in Kindle, paperback, and hardcover.
Don't regret growing old. It's a privilege denied to many. Heart disease is taking our youth from us. Young people in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and beyond are dying needlessly. One of the hardest messages I've ever had to deliver is to convince people that something natural like Extendivite should be taken as a preventative measure. I'm sure you heard, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Extendivite is that ounce. Take Extendivite for 1 year and see what your doctor has to say and how much better you feel. Herbs take time to address the problem. It took years of life to have a problem. Give Extendivite 1 year to fix the problem. Don't wait until it's too late. Call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com or visit us on Amazon.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Monday through Friday, 10:30 Pacific, right here. You'll find us 10:30 Pacific, immediately following Clyde Lewis and Ground Zero. And right before, immediately preceding Clyde Lewis and Ground Zero, you're going to find the Cisco Kid himself, Billy Ray Valentine, the Latin lover of truth. So we're sitting here with Dr. Kevin McCarran, Epic Journeyman, and Mike Sherwin from Conspirazone. Hey, Angela Black. Hey, Cindy Calico. Hey, Feminem. What's up, Om? Bunch of people over in the chat in the microcosm. Jimmy Jean Strike Zone. We're in the Strike Zone still. We're going to move over to the main channel sometime this week. But here, let me jump back here and say, kiss myself one time and say, hey, Epic Journeyman. So now, these containers may or may not. I mean, I've heard. I mean, there's been a million conspiracy theories raised up around these containers. Some were that these were these Russian container missile launchers. They look like containers, and they act like containers, but they're not containers. They're actually missile launching units that could be trucked in.
You know what they call those?
What do they call
those? Q-ships.
Q-ships.
They sure do. No, for real. World War II. Yep.
All right. Well, listen, Doc, there's some important new developments that have gone on this week. What's on your horizon as far as things people should be looking for? Now, I saw a really great protest, and this was the children and their parents got together at some school. I'm sorry I can't tell you where it was, but what they did was, at night while the school was closed, all the parents and the children went down and they left their empty shoes in front of the school door, and they told the school that those were all the children that were not going to be there anymore if they had to wear a mask and they had to go with these mandates. So I thought it was a powerful message. The empty shoes, hundreds of pairs of shoes out in front of the school, little shoes, from the kids. I thought it was a powerful message, And this is something people could do in their own neighborhood that would make a statement. You know, you can get together with your neighbors or whatever. But what's going on with the latest now? I hear from the one of the advisors of the Biden administration, the quickest way to end inflation is to get all 5 to 11-year-olds vaccinated as quickly as possible.
Yeah,
now,
that's a disgusting statement.
I
to be
cannot.
putting out
Yes.
there.
What does it have to do with inflation? Does that mean they'll stop punishing us? Is that what that means?
I guess. I mean, as far as I'm aware, the economies are. You're not shut down in the U.S. now, right? It's
No.
just a case of, how do you say? It's just a case of people lining up for the jabs, and in that case, there's no scientific evidence that you should be aiming these shots at children. Children have a robust natural immune response to SARS-CoV-2, and you have the right to turn around and say to those that would wish to push these vials onto your kids, I want to see what's in the vial, I want to check what's in the vial. We already know they have contamination problems. You don't have to get into conspiracy land with that. Japanese government identified this, contaminant metal particles, as they called it, and others. I could see them under the microscope. Other people are reporting similar, and there's to come for children and under the current circumstances is as much as adults are being experimented on, we're going for experiments on children. And we used to when I were a lad, we used to go to war against people who did that kind of thing. And
there's there's so many things that are wrong with this. This is wrong on so many levels. It's not even funny. Because, the thing is the first inkling that there was anything wrong at all, that's when you put the brakes on an experimental treatment that's been rushed through. That's when you put the brakes on. Normally, that's what goes on in a world that cares about its people. But for some reason, this is being ramrodded like there's no tomorrow. Why isn't there a tomorrow? What happened to my tomorrow, man? Where did it go? There's no tomorrow.
It's been sold, dude. It's been sold by the banks and the oligarchs and the all those other people that think that you cost too much carbon. You're too much carbon on this planet, and you've got to go. And as you're reaching the end, like that last 30 years. Well, they can't afford your last 30 years and the expensive medical care that comes with it. That's what they say. Nothing, like I say, I've been very much trying to hold a scientific line right from when this started. But it was, like I say, it was obvious that there was lab origin involved. You could see it with the way they've acted. The behavior of the scientists and the institutes belies their pleas to innocence and their plea to, well, what they're trying to push is that nature was the cause of this and our effect on nature, not their psychotic experiments where they go looking for these agents and then tweak them in the laboratory.
Why are they injecting giraffes with this that are dying from it?
I know.
What do giraffes have COVID
leopards as well?
I don't get it. Listen to this.
Well, one of the things that to me was most difficult to accept is that we put together a good plan for how we were going to try and dampen down the spread of infection early on, thinking that was accepted by everybody. And then the next day, the president saying free Michigan, free Virginia. I didn't quite understand what the purpose of that was, except to put this misplaced perception about people's individual right to make a decision that supersedes the societal safety. That, to me, is one of the things that I think went awry in all of this. To make a decision that supersedes the societal safety. That, to me, is one of the things that I think went awry in all of this.
Did you ever raise that with President Trump?
I didn't have the opportunity to raise it. I was sort of like shocked, and then I didn't speak to him for some time after that. But It was at that point that I realized that I would have to just get out there myself and say things that clearly were going to be contradictory. I'm not totally sure what the president was referring to, that it was much worse than we're saying it was, that it's not going to go away tomorrow. It's not going to disappear like magic.
Because, you know, this virus is...
Well, one of the things that to me was most make a decision that supersedes the societal safety.
So he doesn't want to make a decision that supersedes the societal safety. I have this meme, all right? And it's about 20 wooden people. They just have round, bulbous heads, and they're flat, and they have arms and legs. And there's 20 of them, and 19 of them are laying on the ground, flat on the ground. And there's one that's red, and his name's Bob, the red one. And it says, "This is Bob. Bob isn't vaccinated and apparently has superpowers which enables him to infect and kill vaccinated people while preserving his own life. Bob is selfish." And then Bob has a little bubble where he's saying he's sorry. I mean, how does this work, man? It doesn't pan out. It doesn't add up. It's not like 1 + 1 = 2. Because in the first place, was it not in the first place 97 point something % chance that you would go ahead and get better? It was some kind of number like that. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was some overwhelming number that if you looked at it and you said to yourself, and you wanted to think, you'd think, oh, well, 3% chance, you know,
It's 1 in 50.
1 in 50. Okay, what?
1 in 50 chance it'll kill you. Yeah,
Okay.
If you average out the age, but we don't know all the cases, right? That's
Right.
the thing.
Okay.
So it's
All
this
right.
1.8%
So typically,
in the United States right now, and it was as high as 5% early, but it's basically overall, yeah.
So
It's
I'm just
your
asking-
chances are 1 in 50.
I'm just
if you get
asking
it.
the doc like basic questions. So doc, typically, when you find a cluster of sick people, do you typically make everybody in the world go stay at their house, or do you normally what you do is you take those group of people that you find and you put those people in quarantine, so the rest of the people go on with the normal lives and things go on like they have in the past normally?
Yeah, that was standard for quarantine measures. That's been flipped on its head, and there's only one reason that they would do that. One, it's again we have to look at it through the dual use paradigm. The people in charge know what they're dealing with, and right now SARS hasn't gone away, and they've thrown into the mix this transfection technology. And what do we see when that happens? It's pretty clear. There's only one country where it's not happening at the moment, is Portugal, which has really high levels of vaccination. But Israel, Britain, Iceland, other countries have all shown increased cases, deaths after the rollout of this technology. And to your first point, yes, we should have. It should have been a case of 18 months ago, 19 months ago, closing the borders. And yeah, it sounds terribly racist, but the first steps. If there was a suspicion of it coming out of China, which they had, they admit it. We know that from the redacted emails. Okay, everything from China should have been locked down, prevented from coming in. It's as simple as that. And the problem with the USA is you got so woke that you allowed Chinese military, essentially, when they've come through the Chinese science academies, they are part of the military, and they're in your institutes right now, working on these compounds, taking the technology back to China. And in some cases they sort of laud and celebrate it, as they did with Ralph Barrick at Duke University, with Zhengli Shi. In other cases, you have never heard of the person unless you're working in that field. And the US, and I can't. To me, it just seems such a bizarre period in history. So we've gone from the towers getting knocked down, where you got the Patriot Act, and every sort of iteration where it comes to removing that, this is my understanding. Oh, they say there's more threats incoming, and boom, now 20 years on, we've got this.
Well, let me just say, I mean, Joe Biden had the Patriot Act ready to go when the Oklahoma City bombing happened, and they tried to get that thing through. They tried to pass it. It was called something else then, and they tried to pass it, but the American people got wind of it, man. It got out, and people said, "Nuh-uh." They couldn't get it through, and they just backed off. They just said, "Okay, well, we'll just wait for another time when it comes, and we'll come back around with it. We'll call it the Patriot Act this time. Make it all those patriots think it's patriotic." You know, it's just like, the Clean Skies Act, whatever. Everything there's something that has a name. Yeah, it's 180 degrees the opposite of whatever. When they say it's the infrastructure bill, yeah, it's infrastructure, all right, but it's not going to be highways and bridges. It's going to be the infrastructure for the New World Order. And that dirty money, you got to get rid of it, because the smallpox are going to get you. You see, because they found it.
Yeah.
It's going to be dark winter. See, man, they've been telling me for 3 years it's going to be dark winter. They got to tell me for 3 years for it to sink in. So I'm ready.
For 5 years if you count the video games. Yeah.
I'm ready for the dark winter, man. There's not going to be any heat for the Americans. That's what they're telling me. There's not going to be any heat because it's going to be too hot. It's going to be too expensive. There's not going to be any gas. Not going to be any food. There's not going to be anything. I mean,
there's some similarities, between the Patriot Act and the anthrax and what we're talking about here. Like, it was the neocons actually that tried to launch the Patriot Act. They really, really wanted that, right? I mean, that group, the Project for New American Century people, and Senator Daschle was like the main guy against it, launching a whole campaign against it, and it got pushed back several times. And when they made the last push to stop it, he's the guy who got delivered the anthrax first. That's the guy who went straight to him, the guy who was fighting the Patriot Act. So my suspicion always was.
It went to the dudes at the National Enquirer, too, who were talking about
National Enquirer. We're talking
Bush's daughter.
And to Congress in general. But, it shows that the people who want to push these things through, they have a time limit that there's an end date to how long they'll put up with the people going against them. At some point, they'll take drastic measures because there's a timetable. For some reason, they seem to have to meet. Mm-hmm. And that was, when I say they, I just mean the people who were planning these things, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, that was a big part of moving that agenda forward. Like I say, it was there for a good, at least 4 years.
Like I was saying, there's not going to be any food. There's not going to be any heat. There's not going to, grandma's going to freeze to death because she's going to have to decide if she wants cat food or if she wants to heat her house. This is America we're living in. And not only are we living in it, but we're allowing people to make it happen. He's closing down pipelines. He's closing down pipelines at the same time they're telling him to open up the strategic gas reserve. Listen, I'm not political anymore. I used to talk a lot about politics, man. And I'm just saying, this here is literally out of control. There are enemies inside the walls of our government. I mean, I don't know how else to put it.
Many things except it's traders, and your trader class are the corporations, the international corporations that they see ways here to increase control, increase power, and in fact, it's wrapped up in woke politics, right? If you listen to the language of corporations as they put out their advertising, why do you get the rainbow washing of everything in Pride Month when most normal people find that kind of stuff pretty offensive? But it's forced down people's throats at a ever accelerating rate. I can remember when I lived in California, they rejected gay marriage bill, right? And I could sort of remember feeling that there was a palpable sigh of relief as they did that. And then a few years later, it came round again. And now we've gone from that to the sexualization of children as part of the curriculum in primary schools, where they want to talk about, two dads and have you, where under normal circumstances, those sort of things should be, private, and in no way should you be forcing it on others' children.
But in a societal situation, showing aspects of society is not necessarily bad, but to show it in a way that's overwhelmingly more than what represents in society from a demographic standpoint. So what I'm saying is, if I'm in a room with 100 people and one of those people in that room is gay, that represents an idea of how many gay people are in a number of people. So but you don't see that on TV. You see a misrepresentation of demographic. In other words, there looks like when you show a TV show and there's 7 characters on the show and 5 of them are gay, okay, and you're just watching TV and you're not gay, but you're watching TV, you're now under the impression that 5 of the 7 people in the room are gay, and to you that means just about everybody's gay. You're looking around, you're figuring everybody's gay, but it just makes it societally, it makes it more palatable to think that there's more of a majority of those people that need attention, and so what we're seeing is that you're taking a small minority of a demographic that should be represented to children. I mean,
I'm not throwing them off the buildings yet.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
Like
I'm
I say,
just saying,
when it's coming for children, like the jabs coming for children, like this sexualized agenda coming for little children, but they don't know. Look, I can tell you, my kids, right, have zero exposure to it in Japan. There's nothing. It's not part of the curriculum. The kids have zero idea.
It shouldn't be. I mean, obviously, if there's going to be any kind of discussion about this, it should at least be in some sort of a high school scenario.
At least let them wait till 16, man.
I mean, they don't even have half of the stuff they used to have. I mean, there used to be like, they used to have classes where, there was a class specifically designed to talk about certain subjects, and your parents had an idea of what was going on in that class, and they got to decide whether they wanted you in it or not. Because parents should be the ultimate decider as far as how their children are being raised and what they're being taught and when they're being taught. Because the bottom line is, look, it took however many years to get to this point from a social engineering standpoint. So you have a whole group of older people that have been slowly programmed to arrive at this moment. And all the young people that are being born now, they need to be ready way sooner for that moment. See, so they're blowing it out, and they're retraining the young people with critical race theory and all this other stuff, sexualization, all this other stuff, because they need them to be at a certain mindset when a certain period of time is up. So they have to be able to understand what's going on socially and be okay with it. It's like when
they can roll their sleeve up, Jimmy, at school without the parents' consent. This is where we're heading, and they're doing that in Canada right now. Okay, 12 years old and above, they don't need the parents' consent to line up for this experimental transfection. And I was mentioning just before we started that there's a study out, it was last week, but SARS-CoV-2 could infect and propagate in human placenta explants. I mean, it's placenta taken out of the body before birth. I mean, after birth, right? It's after birth that they've done these experiments on. The SARS-CoV-2 is, if it can get there, can replicate there. We know that the lipid nanoparticles from these reagents will go, they make a beeline for the gonads, the ovaries, and the brain, the bone marrow, and this is how perverse it's getting right now. The Moderna have got a sales pitch right now where they're talking about how their lipid nanoparticles can get into the bone marrow and transfect the stem cells for you to make your blood.
That's their sales pitch.
Yeah, this is a new. Well, I'd need to pull up the the window. Just look at it.
All
I
right, yeah,
covered
why
it the
don't you
other
do
day.
that? Because we're coming up on the break. Epic Journeyman and Mike, you guys jump in here. We got about 5 minutes before the break. Jump in, Epic Journeyman. I know you wanted to get in there with some stuff there.
Well, going back to the idea of keeping these ships off the shore as a quarantine measure, it's also a possibility that the word got out that there was some kind of attack. We hinted that, whether it be biological or otherwise, and that a lot of this holdup is basically inspecting all the ships. You know, I mean, the amount of resources it takes to keep those ships there, I mean, it takes them 21 days, between 14 and 21 days, depending where they're coming from, to get here, right, across the Pacific. And then when they get here, you know, they plan on coming into port and resupplying. They need to get more stores, they need to get more, you know, produce and food and all that stuff and fill up and go back, right? And so the whole time they're sitting out there, that's more, they still have to do that. So if they're not making it to the pier side, they have to ferry, you know, not containers, but the supplies out to them to keep those poor guys, the crew and the people who came over on those ships. A lot of people don't know those cargo ships. People pay to ride along those cargo ships. It's like, you know, a means of transportation for people in third world countries. They don't have a lot of money. They'll come over, they'll pay the couple $100s to come over instead of being able to, you know, fly over on a plane or do whatever, right? And yeah, there's not just the crew, it's those people as well. So there's how many thousands of people? Tens of thousands, most likely, are off the shore right now, just sitting there.
I'll tell you this, man. What do those ships run on? Diesel? $10 a gallon? $10 a gallon. I mean, those ships are going to be anchored out there forever and ever, and they'll be there for the rest of time. They'll just be out there rusting and rotting away. They just sit there, and we'll all look at them and go, yeah. We'll go out there, we'll go, yeah, that was when we had the pandemic and the ships, you know, came offshore. That was when the big moment happened, when diesel was $10 a gallon. And it was cheaper for them to dump the containers in the ocean than to drop them onto the shore.
Well, at some point that's going to be true because it's a 6-week turnaround. You got to figure it's 3 weeks to get over here, you know, 2 days to unload them basically, you know, and then, you know, 3 weeks back, right? So really it's 9 weeks if you think about it that way. They got to come over. So you order something from China, Singapore, wherever. It comes over here, it takes 3 weeks. Then it's got to go back over there. And it's got to get reloaded again and come back. So that node in the transportation system is out of it for 9 weeks now. So if we started everything today and unloaded every one of those ships today, we're 9 weeks away from things going back to normal. But a lot can happen in 2 months, man. You know?
Wow.
So,
we're coming up fast on the end of the year, man. I mean, before we know it, we're going to be sitting here next week. It's going to be Beaver Moon time. You know, the Beaver Moon is coming, and, you know, it's going to be the longest partial eclipse in 600 years coming up.
Whoa, man, hide your wood.
It's going to be, you better hide your wood, and I'll tell you what, supposedly it's going to be one of those red moons. So it's apparently at some refractive point on the Earth, you'll be seeing a red moon or a blood moon coming up. So I mean, I don't know what it means esoterically. I haven't looked at it, but I just caught my eye because of the Beaver Moon part, and because I noticed this other story earlier that I wanted to bring up before we get going here. Hang on a second here. I noticed that, you know, that there's an article over on, you can find this over on the New York Post. And apparently, now we've been talking about the dark winter, and it's going to be a dark, cold winter, right? So apparently, cold weather can cause winter vagina. Are you guys aware of this? It's bad news for your sex life, apparently, according to this article. It says here, I just want to give this shout out to the ladies in case you didn't know about this here. Winter is coming, and with it comes a chilling warning. It turns out winter vagina could be a thing, according to one expert. We all know as the temperature drops, the heating gets switched on, and that can play havoc with your skin. Dry skin, chapped lips become a problem, and leaving us to reach for the hand cream, according to this article. but that could drought affect all parts of the body, including, yep, you guessed it, your private parts. Mary Burke from National Health Service, midwife, UK, a senior clinical nurse, a London Bridge plastic surgery and aesthetics clinic, told The Sun that women may suffer more with vaginal dryness during the winter months. Dry autumn and winter air depletes moisture from our bodies, leaving our skins cracked and dehydrated. So I guess the big thing is
Winter's coming.
Yeah, just stay hydrated, ladies, and to avoid, because I mean supposedly the winter's gonna be dark enough, and if you have a significant other, this could put a damper on your staying warm together. So yeah, watch out for that, Epic Journeyman. Winter vagina coming to a neighborhood. There's probably no winter vagina now that I think about it over there in Hawaii. It's not as dry there. It's more moist.
I think we're safe. I think we're safe over here.
All right, well, there it is. That's my public service health announcement because the doc is here. I thought since you were here. So, Doc, is there any, have you heard of this winter vagina?
I have indeed. I probably saw the same report you did. And all I can say is, ladies, keep those lips covered and well moisturized. That's all I could say.
Mm-hmm. That's true. Well, it's into the microcosm, ladies and gentlemen.
To the public good.
Yeah, we're willing to go where other shows won't go. And we'll be right back. It's Aftermath FM in stereo. Yeah, Lemonhead said, damn, a blood moon, winter vagina, and blue balls. Oh my goodness.
On June 1st, 1996, John and Joyce Edmonds purchased a ranch in Rainbow Valley, Arizona. What has ensued for the past 2+ decades defies all accepted understanding of our reality. Portals, aliens, abductions, incursions, and life-threatening confrontations. Stardust Ranch has become one of the most compelling paranormal stories of the last quarter century, studied by multiple agencies, public and private, and featured on countless documentaries, including Ghost Hunters. Stardust Ranch remains one of the most compelling mysteries of our time. Get your copy of Stardust Ranch, The Incredible True Story, available exclusively on Amazon in Kindle, paperback, and hardcover.
Don't regret growing old. It's a privilege denied to many. Heart disease is taking our youth from us. Young people in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and beyond are dying needlessly. One of the hardest messages I've ever had to deliver is to convince people that something natural like Extendivite should be taken as a preventative measure. I'm sure you heard, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Extendivite is that ounce. Take Extendivite for 1 year and see what your doctor has to say and how much better you feel. Herbs take time to address the problem. It took years of life to have a problem. Give Extendivite 1 year to fix the problem. Don't wait until it's too late. Call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com or visit us on Amazon.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
It's so hard to say I love you when you're sitting on my face. I can tell you what I'm thinking of you if you just sit some other place for just a moment.
Monday through Friday, right here, immediately following Clyde Lewis and Ground Zero, you'll find us into the microcosm. And that is the Muff Tones doing It's So Hard to Say I Love You when you're sitting on my face. And side B, I think you will find side B of the Muff Tones. We'll get into that a little bit better.
That trigger pop cold as ice.
What, man? I'm sorry, I couldn't resist with all the talk of the beaver moon, the winter vagina, the blue balls. What better piece of music could you come up with there than the Muff Tones? There you go, ladies and gentlemen, the Muff Tones. Hey, every now and then you got to say what, you have to have a good time, because I mean, we're talking about this stuff and it's just, it's frustrating, and there's really no place for people to go to have a cogent discussion about solutions that are going to work for everybody. So I mean, the Constitution of the United States is supposed to be the law of the land, but since most of us live in constitutional free zones 100 miles from the border, and so on and so forth, the Constitution doesn't seem to apply, because I'm supposed to be secure in my papers and my person. I'm supposed to be okay. I'm supposed to not have to worry about this kind of thing. When I have an infrastructure bill that's saying it wants to know about my papers, about my Bitcoin, is that any of their business? No, I don't think so. I don't think my health. I mean, Doc, let me ask you a question about this now. That the HIPAA laws, they were supposed to be put into effect. What they wanted to do is digitize our health records so that they could make them private. So they were so concerned about digitizing and making my health records private. Now all of a sudden my health records are public. I don't understand how that works. Are you allowed to talk about somebody, like if you were to work as a physician or a doctor, are you allowed to even talk about what goes on between you and your patient with other people? I mean, isn't there a law against that?
It depends. I mean, I've been at many scientific meetings where of course the people are anonymized, but you're talking about people's cases. I know of individual cases. My specialty was Tourette's, and especially in adult Tourette's. So we would speak about the individual via names, and how so-and-so doing, what were the results of the intervention you made with deep brain stimulation, this type of thing. So it does happen. Mm-hmm. The concerning thing right now is that the vaccine passport that's coming, we know it's coming. It's here already, right? It's here already, and they're just nudging you into it. That is linked to all your health records. And I've been saying that the Bolshevism of the 21st century will come through the medical system, because that links everyone, and it's not fractured like the classes were in the previous attempts that they made, where most people who getting food on the table and a roof over their heads are not interested in Vive la Revolution, right? But now suddenly we're all participants in this new global experiment, and they're globalists, collectivists, whatever you want to call them. History knows tells us where this ends up. And look, they're already talking of withholding people from being able to go to supermarkets. This is in Germany. Austria has locked down the unvaccinated. Just so happened to be Austria again.
And they're walking around checking papers, Epic Journeyman.
Yeah, wallpaper hangers in particular. Austria. It might take a while. But yeah.
Well, I mean, you know.
But anyway, so he came from Austria, and he was obsessed with Spirit, Destiny, and all that stuff. That's why I went back there. And one of the first places I went to is to go get that from the museum. But yeah, I went off track there. Sorry, I went off the rails a little bit. But we're talking about that infrastructure bill, and that something about that really stood out to me. Like 99% of that, maybe even 99.9% is awesome. It's really good. We're going to get things done. We're going to build bridges and all that good stuff, and whatever else, right? I mean, the actual, hard concrete, so to speak, no pun intended, infrastructure bill. But there's a couple things like you talk about that, but the one that really stuck out to me was they're going to start requiring all new cars to have breathalyzer tests on them. So you won't be able to drive the car without breathing in the tube or whatever, or maybe it won't be a tube. This is where I'm going. I think that it's going to be a little bit less invasive than that, right? But that when it does these tests to see what your blood alcohol content is, it's probably doing things that check for other things like diseases, your body temperature, it's probably linked. It's going to be linked with a lot of cars have internet link-ups now, right? And it's also going to link. You shut off your engine, right? Obviously, if you're too drunk to drive, but it could also turn it off, which they could already do remotely anyway. But what about the idea of these things being DNA samplers as well? So you buy your car, and when you go to DMV to get inspected, get your what do they call the traffic check, smog or whatever, smog check in California. They call it a safety check here in Hawaii. Those kind of things. It's a global thing. They take that little sample to that thing's got to be replaced from time to time, I'm sure. Right, and send it off to lab somewhere, and it got this whole, giant sample of your DNA and whoever else has driven that car and whatever else. So
well, they can't
I don't know if it's to that point. I don't know the technology they're going to use,
they
but the
can't
fact
even
it's
put
even there in the bill
right now.
It's at that point. It's at that point.
Right now,
in the UK, if you get taken in by the police with, so long as they have arrested you, they don't have to charge you. Part of the booking in will then taking a cheek swab for a DNA sample, and then that gets run against their database now, which is, I would imagine, pretty extensive because this has been going on for well over a decade.
The same thing happens here in Canada too now. Since I think about 2000, it'd have been about 2009, 2010. Anytime you get arrested, doesn't matter the crime or anything. Like it could just even be picked up for parking tickets. And they'll swab your DNA for you, or take a swab of your DNA as part of your booking.
Mm-hmm.
So that tells you where we're going. And I had no idea it'd been so. Well, Canada's the UK, right?
Yeah, so, we're Britain light.
Yeah, listen to this. A leading COVID-19 testing firm is planning to sell swabs containing customers' DNA, prompting an investigation from UK's data privacy policy watchdog. Signapost Diagnostic, government-approved supplier Trading Express Test, said it will analyze samples and sell the information to third-party companies, documents have revealed. The company claimed that it will also use medical data to learn more about human health. So apparently when you were signed up you went down for your test, if you didn't read that thing and you clicked that box, you said they could sell your DNA. He said you can sell it. So there you go. Here's Austria. It says citizens owned now by the state. Today it's vaccines. What about tomorrow? Let's hear what this says.
Speaking on Sunday, the country's interior minister had a stern warning to the Austrian people.
As of tomorrow, every citizen, every person living in Austria must be aware that they can be checked by the police at any time. Among other things, we will also check if people have been vaccinated or recovered and the reason for entering public spaces.
Those who currently haven't received 2 jabs will only be permitted to leave their homes for work and to carry out essential tasks such as shopping and attending medical appointments. The announcement comes following a record surge in COVID infections and government concerns hospitals could become overwhelmed.
Steve Chade is a journalist with Austria's public broadcaster, ORF. He joins us from Vienna. Welcome, Steve. How are these measures to be enforced?
Well, we're talking about...
meine Zeit verwendet habe im Dienste meines Volkes. Gib du jetzt deine Stimme ab. Wenn ja, dann tritt für mich ein, so wie ich für dich eingetreten bin.
million people in the country who are unvaccinated, so it will, of course, be quite a challenge. But the Interior Minister, Karl Nehammer, says the police are being given more support. They're going to be out in greater numbers. They've been equipped with tools to be able to immediately test people. They have a special app on smartphones so they can read the QR codes for people who are vaccinated. For people who are not vaccinated, they don't have the social.
There it is, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, wow.
I'm telling you, man, we walked into this smartphone thing.
Smartphone. Okay, I'd never.
That's the tool.
Hi everyone, welcome to this timeline
Hey,
documentary.
shut up. Okay, listen, listen, I cannot believe, and I can't remember the acronym for SMART. Maybe you know Epic German. I can never remember what it is, but it has to do with what SMART actually means, and I can never remember what it is. But it has to do with military technology, so a smartphone. But go ahead, Doc. The smartphone.
Well, I was just going to say that's their means of control, right? We all were beguiled by those little black rectangles of joy, and that's the way to enforce these measures, and all under emergency use, whatever state of emergency that they're calling in Austria. And
well, there isn't anything in the Constitution of the United States of America that says anything about an emergency. Okay, because as a matter of fact, the Constitution was written in an emergency. There is nothing in the Constitution that says your rights don't exist anymore because it's an emergency. Here, hold on a second. Maybe we should just listen to this guy instead.
Dass ich fleißig gewesen bin, dass ich gearbeitet habe, dass ich mich in diesen Jahren für dich eingesetzt habe, dass ich anständig meine Zeit verwendet habe im Dienste meines Volkes. Gib du jetzt deine Stimme ab. Wenn ja, dann tritt für mich ein, so wie ich für dich eingetreten bin.
There you go. Because now
I don't want to be controversial on the show too much, but you know what? In a lot of those speeches, he's talking about the same people we are.
I know.
I know. Controlling.
I know, but
you're talking about the global banking system a lot, actually.
Yeah. And
but so SMART used to show up in back in my old work, actually. These big companies, it's a business.
Hang on a second. Stay right there, Epic German. Here's the thing, man. The reason I played that Hitler right there doesn't have nothing to do with what he says. It has everything to do with social engineering. Because if I played Stalin giving a speech, no one would know who the hell it even was. But because there's a guy yelling in German and people are going, ha, ha, people understand that because every single time something happens, the first thing out of their mouth is this guy is Hitler. It's Hitler. It's Hitler. You know, people associate that. I mean, if we're playing a word association game and I went up on the front of my thing and I put my finger underneath my nose and put my hand up in the air, what would you say? Hitler. That's what that's what everybody says though, because that's how it's been drummed into our heads. Social engineering once again. But look, you said back here at the beginning about this Austria thing. This is an intense moment for Austria, is it not? Now listen, Arnold Schwarzenegger, he's from Austria, isn't he? Now I've seen pictures of Arnold Schwarzenegger all dressed up. Must have been Halloween or something. He's wearing big black boots and got a little uniform on, and he was making a little hand sign or whatever. I don't know what it meant, because of course you just out of context. But he was from Austria, wasn't he? And just a moment ago, like a couple weeks ago, he was telling me, he was saying, "F my freedoms, man." He said, "I don't have any freedoms." He said, according to him. I don't know, dude. It's like we've reached the point of no return almost at this point because for 4 years people sat around with their thumb up their ass waiting for the plan to come into effect. And while that was going on, we've ended up here and now we've got nowhere to go. We've been painted into a corner. This Kyle trial is about to end. People are saying they're going to burn cities down and all this. I mean, we are literally just being prodded, poked, and painted into a corner to the point where there's only one thing you're going to be able to do, and that is strike out. Because there is no table for discussion for any of this stuff. It's like we don't have a choice. It's like they're telling me if I don't have a choice, then I get to go sit someplace where people that don't want to make the choice have to sit until they decide they want to come out. You go stand in the fucking corner, Jimmy, until you say you're sorry and you come over here and roll up your sleeve. Other than that, you got to stay over there. That's what they're telling us. Now, I mean, that doesn't seem like America to me.
No, it doesn't. Like I say, I'm not an American citizen. I spent many years there, loved it, wish I was there, and it's not the US that I remember. And I again, I don't know how much is me just eating black pills all the day, looking at these stories all the time. And maybe when you switch off the internet, it's fine and dandy. But like I say, is it the fact that there's still that 100-mile incursion zone into the US? Why doesn't it go the other way?
Right. It goes 2.5 or 12 miles.
Yeah, extend the Constitution. Extend the Constitution 100 miles into the next country. Yeah, that sounds
12.
like.
Yeah, at least 12.
Sounds like a good idea.
That's the sea. International waters 12-mile limit. Yeah, so it is true. Like what Doc was just saying, what you were just saying, it was is totally correct. It is. If you did unplug, if you went away from the media, it is mostly media based.
Mm-hmm.
But it's having real effect on people. That's the problem. Because everybody is absorbed in the media right now, and it really it's become so extreme. In the case like on the one side you got Tucker out there doing everything but wearing the uniform, on Fox. And the other side you got the people with the transgender bathrooms and stuff on the extreme side of that side. Whatever else kind of ridiculous thing it is. The boys could have periods too thing in Scotland. All these outrageous things, right? And that's not always that way. I mean, it's getting increasingly that way on certain sides. And the thing with the description about Hitler, that's called Godwin's Law by some guy named Godwin, that all conversations eventually degrade to the point they're finished, because once you start comparing everybody to Hitler, it's over, right?
Right.
And that seems to be true. I mean, right now, it's so hilarious because the people on the left will say, well, Tucker Carlson is Hitler, Trump is Hitler, right?
Yeah.
And the people on that side will say, no, these damn socialists are Hitler, which actually isn't true. They're more like, it'd be Stalin, right? It wouldn't be Hitler. It'd be Leninist or whatever.
Yeah,
but,
just remember Dresden, man. That's what you got to do.
Yeah, too. We did a lot of bad things as Americans at the time, too. It wasn't like we were free of our own war crimes,
Listen
so
to
that's
this.
SMART acronym.
Listen to this. I'm gonna try to read this. This is in Ireland. This came from Ireland. The Irish government is putting these stickers up. It says coronavirus COVID-19 alert. It says vaccine recipients who have come forward to receive their COVID-19 vaccines, thank you for playing your part in keeping our community safe. I can't read this last line, but rare side effects have now come to our attention. This is put out by the Irish government. It says, here's the side effects: headaches, menstrual irregularities, Bell's palsy,
goddamn winter vagina again,
blood clots, heart attacks and strokes, sudden death. Please report any of these side effects to the Health Products Regulatory Authority, HPRA.ie. Or IR. I can't see. I don't have my. It's like a. Because I'm reading. This is a picture of the actual sticker that's put out by the.
This list of effects. We had a pretty good idea about them even before the tech was rolled out en masse. Okay, the term biologicals has been around in the medical literature for a few decades. There's and I don't know where the decision was made to think that they had the technology ready for game day. Well, I don't know. It depends on the game you're playing, I suppose. But this this point of well, you can unplug the internet, right, and you can go outside and the birds are still singing, flowers are still blooming. That used to be true till now. They want your QR code as you're walking down the street. That's enforceable by the police. And I don't care how much you rattle on about your citizens' rights and your free man on the land status. They'll pick you up. They'll pick you up and they'll take you to the station, and yeah, they might let you out after grabbing your DNA, right? And that's another little data plot that their big data scheme.
Something that I should really want to point out to people that they might not be aware. Most people have not been arrested. Most people are just regular people. They don't do anything. They don't get arrested. And you may think it's no big deal, but what I want to make you aware of is once you've been taken into custody, in other words, once somebody's put their handcuffs on you and put you in the back of a car to take you somewhere, you are no longer in control of yourself anymore. At that point, you are in trouble, man. Because let me tell you something, man. Your hands are handcuffed behind your back, okay? Then when you get there, they're going to make you take off your clothes and bend over. And they're going to make you spread your ass cheeks, and they're going to look in your butthole. Doesn't matter what sex you are. That's all going to happen before they even get to any of this other stuff about whether or not you're vaccinated or whether you want to get vaccinated or whether you were vaccinated or whatever. Once you've been taken into custody, that's what happens. Because they got to make sure, you're not sneaking anything in there. Somehow you knew you were going to jail that night and you slipped something up your bun. And now you're gonna, sneak it in. No, but all of this, and what? Check this out. I think this is allowed on the side of the road in some states, that the police can literally butt search you right there on the side of the road. I'm not 100% sure what state it is. They have the power. They don't do it, but they also have the power to draw blood in some states. How is anybody going to allow a police officer to draw blood on the side of the road for any reason, whether he thinks you're drunk or whatever? How does that happen?
They do it a lot with those revolvers, actually. Back in the day, right?
Yeah, I've heard of those. Amazing tech.
Well, what if the tech goes bad? What if the IR temperature reader goes bad and they got to give you the temperature check on the side of the road the old-fashioned way? See if you got a temperature. Make sure you got to get the good reading there. So I'm sorry, you're gonna have to bend over there, son. I'm gonna have to give you the temperature read the old-fashioned way. You know what I'm saying? But no, seriously. I mean, how does it? When did we get to a place where all this is going on the side of the road, man? Hey, man, welcome to America. Now, pull on over here, boy. Gotta take a look over here, see what you got up in here. Yeah.
Right. I would go back to the 60s when they brought in the immigration bills. And well, this is particularly for the UK. You can go look at Enoch Powell's Rivers of Blood speech. At the same time, the US had their immigration laws coming in, where they had to, what was a predominantly white country that was built, had stayed that way for a few hundred years. They had to change the mix, and that's been weaponized. Again, we could get into a long conversation about.
Well, here's the thing. Let's look at it logically. All right. So look, let's look at it from a perspective of seeing overall what's going on. Overall, demographically, what we're talking about. Okay, what I see is the fall of membership on the Christian side. I see a fall in that membership, and I see a rise in the Islamic people. So I see more Islam, less Christianity. So now, over in Europe, for example, most of what you see there is related to the cathedrals. Regardless, now they're related to church. Whether they were in antiquity, we don't know. But right now, they're related to Christ. But when you have the older generations who are followers of the Christ doctrines, they're getting old, they're dying off, memberships dwindling, people are disillusioned. A lot of people are just plain not even into religion anymore in the West. But meanwhile, back at the ranch, people of the Islamic faith are all having babies, and because that's part of being is part of Islam, is to have many children, so that, I mean, you can, you know, propagate the religion. So
right. There should be Christianity too.
Exactly.
That's the thing. They somehow that got pulled out.
Yeah, because there's this thing. There was a TED Talk. I think it might have even been the very first TED Talk. I don't know. I can't remember when it was, but it was a very long time ago. And there was a guy that had come up with population software, where he showed consistently across the planet that as a country moved its status closer to industrialized, more of a first world type of a scenario, the more that happened, the smaller the family sizes got. So that the more industrialized you got, the less kids people were having. And it showed that across the board that was happening. So now if we know that, and we see that the world is being systematically industrialized in ways that it hadn't been before, naturally populations are not going to continue to grow at the same rate that they did in the past. You combine that with, obviously, you combine that with contraceptives and blah, 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 blah. And pretty much you can see that, like, for example, we talked about it before, in Japan, there's not even any replacement. There's not enough being born to replace. So you see that they're going to have to fill all of these places up with somebody, okay? Because the West and the West it seems to be dying out, and so they know they got to get their taxes somewhere. So that's why I think a big part of the thing that happened in Europe with the overrunning of the refugees and into this old established, basically a kingdom, you know, and you see churches and cathedrals maybe just all of a sudden start turning into mosques, you know, when for whom the bell tolls, man. You know, when that fire happened, there was all kinds of stuff going on over there around that. So I mean, across the world, I think you see an immigration, because Americans and old people who have been used to the system being the way that it is, they're not willing to work for $15 an hour. But somebody that's working for $3 an hour, $15 an hour means they're rich. So they'll make a beeline for that $15 an hour job, and they'll work it all day long. They'll work 2 or 3 of those. If you don't want to work it, that's fine. They'll do it. And they know that, because they know you know, and these are not going to be the jobs that robots are doing. These are going to be hard labor jobs. You know, listen, where's $1 trillion of infrastructure going to come from? Where are you going to find the construction workers for that? Where do they exist? Because I've talked about it a million times on this show that there are no construction workers. The average age of a construction worker, when I first started talking about it, was 45, and that was probably like 5 years ago. So the average age of a construction worker is 50 years old in America. Plus, not only that, but if this is a government project, for $1 trillion of infrastructure, you know what that means? That means they got to hire union companies to do a lot of that construction. Where are those union members going to come from? There's not enough union members across the United States to take care of that $1 trillion. They're going to have a whole bunch of people from somewhere. Where are they going to come from? You can't just materialize them. Well, they got to come from over the border, obviously, right? Isn't that where they got to come from? They got to come from somewhere. China's going to come in here. China's got high-tech construction teams. They'll put up a high-rise in, what was it, Epic? 3 weeks? 10 stories in 3 weeks? I mean,
really quick. I don't know what the quality is like, but yeah, it's quick.
Yeah, so I mean, So look, I was gonna make you guys aware of this. I didn't know if you guys had heard about this. This is another thing that's gonna blow your mind, man. So this dude, listen to this. Since we're talking about inflammatory shit, this is from Blacklisted News, and he says, this dude says, I got over 1,000 soldiers ready to go, locked and loaded. Okay. Now, what are you thinking right now? This guy's gonna get arrested, right, for saying that? This guy's in jail, right? No, wrong. You know why?
He runs Blackwater. No.
Well, close. He is. Here's what it says. I'll read it again. I got over 1,000 soldiers ready to go, locked and loaded. Black militant threatens anti-CRT parents at Texas school board meeting.
Yeah,
no, that CRT thing is ridiculous, right? You're not teaching that at school.
We're not the board.
That's ridiculous.
Here, hey, hang on a second. Here he is.
I've got over 1,000 soldiers ready to go. We're not the board. He's 1,000 go. I don't care. My First Amendment rights. My First Amendment rights are here. The board is in front of you.
I can't even hear what he's saying. Pro-critical race theory activist Malik Austin tells Fort Worth parents that he has over 1,000 soldiers ready to go, and they will come locked and loaded to the next meeting. Austin is a former member of the Brotherhood Black Militia Group. So I guess he's a former member of the Brotherhood.
Yeah, I know who he is. He was at the Million Man March. I remember him.
All right, so it says here, Attorney General Merrick Garland previously attempted to smear anti-critical race theory parents as domestic terrorists despite providing no evidence. We now have a hard fact, a pro-CRT active pictured here with his former militia making direct threats against the public. So if the FBI and the Justice Department did not launch an immediate investigation, it proves Garland's actions were purely political, an attempt to protect the teachers' unions and silence and intimidate and smear anti-critical race theory parents. He should resign, is what it says. The Fort Worth Independent School District meeting of November 9th, Malik Austin turned to address the parents who had spoken to critical race theory. For those who got an issue with this critical race theory equity, this is something I fight for. I fight for my children. Austin, who's an African American, began, "How dare you come out here and talk about these things that my daddy and my grandparents went through with the lynchings and the oppression, Jim Crow, and my kids still being affected by this. We are not our ancestors," Austin added. I got over 1,000 soldiers ready to go.
Wow.
It's so silly, man. It is, because there's no such thing. I'd say there's no such thing as critical race theory, but tell me a school it's being taught, and there aren't any schools. Like we're talking about grade schools, there aren't any schools but they're teaching that stuff. And the people on either side who make an issue out of it don't know what they're talking about, because it's something that's for basically law students. It's not for something that's being taught in the grade school. There's no such thing. So even the guy who's defending it on that side doesn't know what he's talking about, right? And the people in Virginia, particularly, where they got swayed by that, they didn't know what they were talking about. There's no school in Virginia teaching critical race theory. It has a name that sounds provocative, critical race theory, right? But nobody knows what it's talking about. So I would challenge these people who bring that stuff up to point to a school that's actually teaching it, because there aren't any.
Yeah, but this gets into the swing towards woke politics, right? So that's already permeated into the schools, and it gets earlier and earlier down the grades, which is what we were talking about earlier. The thing that I find bizarre is that in Fort Worth, Texas, that would be the last place that I would be making those kind of threats if I was feeling a bit brazen and I had a
yeah, I know, right? I was thinking the same thing. Yeah.
Wow.
So that just seems deliberate, almost deliberate in its provocation, and you want to get that you're trying to rile up those good old boys. And I've been saying this from the very beginning. Do not buy with the bait that they keep chucking out. I know that really feels like we've got our backs up against the walls as they're coming for children. They're pulling apart what seemed like the country that you were born into. But they want you to make a move, right? Because that feeds their machine. Right? They can send out the SWAT for you once you start talking about your Second Amendment rights.
Listen, dude, go to San Francisco and get come over here on vacation. Bring yourself a black plastic bag and go get yourself $900 worth of stuff out of any store you feel like it. And you know what? If you're the owner of the store, you can't say anything. If you say something to somebody that walks in and starts stealing something, they'll probably kill you. Okay? And you can't call the cops because they're not coming. See? So, what are you supposed to do? I mean, you got any idea how much it costs per square foot in San Francisco to open up a retail business to make some money off the people that are coming there on vacation?
A ton. It is one of the most expensive places in the country. Yeah,
Okay.
it's ridiculous.
Okay.
Yeah, and those are the kind of things that breed outrage because it's rightfully deserved, right? I mean, that's the thing. Like, what the hell? I just had a friend from work who went on vacation from that area. He moved to Hawaii from there. And so he went back to that, I don't know exactly what city it was, but he was in that vicinity near Frisco in the Bay Area. And he goes to this, he has a pretty nice neighborhood that he grew up in. He went shopping in another, I forget the name of the street. You probably know it, but and it's exactly that. And he sees his buddy, who's a black man. They went to school together and stuff. They're buddies, right? And he didn't recognize him at first. And the guy's, "Hey, man, what are you doing here?" He says, "Oh, man, I'm back for vacation. I'm checking stuff out." He says, "Oh, you don't want to be here, man. What the hell are you doing over here? Go back to Hawaii." He says, he told him that story that they can't even stop these guys. So I don't know what street that is, but that whatever street that is, if you're talking about the same street, I don't imagine it's like the whole state of California. It's just specific areas.
No, it is.
Places,
I mean,
but
people are stealing shit everywhere, man.
He's like, yeah, you don't want to go to this neighborhood. Get the hell out of here.
So right now, the people of the U.S. are in a state. Well, I don't know how widespread it is outside of California, but okay. So the rule of law doesn't stand. You've essentially got tyrants coming in, dressed in technology to permeate into your lives. If you're, part of the average American, right? I don't mean to sort of belittle the term, but you've got 2.4 kids and you've got a mortgage and you're trying to play the game right. So you have a pension and you leave something for your kids, and that is being systematically undermined.
No, they're coming for that. They want that money bad. They want that money. They want the baby boomers. They want that retirement.
Is it money though? This is like modern monetary systems. After 2008, are so decoupled from anything that they can just print it up and
when old people are dying from something that's going around, that's one of the main demographics that are dying out of it. Those are the same people who you had to pay pensions and social securities to. That's tens of trillions. It's literally, I think they figured out how much it was. It was something like $7 trillion is in the bank for baby boomers in America. That they're sitting on that money, is what I'm saying. Or you got to pay it out. Like these unions and these extrapolating benefits from people who retired, at 50 or whatever. They still got to pay them until they're dead, or whatever. I mean,
military. All those guys retire at 37.
Yeah. Listen to this. Listen to this. For the average retail rental rate in San Francisco was $92.50 a square foot. So imagine the rent in San Francisco. In a good space, like where you're going to get foot traffic from the travelers who are coming there. So what happened over here was that they took this area that was just, it used to be called Hunters Point, and it was the black area. It was a black middle-class neighborhood in the 60s and 70s, and then it basically ended up degrading into this pit. And it was right next to the shipyards and stuff. There's a lot of chemicals in the dirt and all this stuff. So eventually, what ended up happening, it turned into this real hard. It was a hardcore ghetto, man. The Hunters Point, like you know, you might if you went into Hunters Point, you might not come out, and that's the way it was for a long time. But what ended up happening was, people started running out of places down in San Francisco, so they started buying up these spots over in Hunters Point, and started, you know, to gentrify the area, you know, to started upscaling it. So when they started upscaling it, all those people, there's nowhere for them to go. Like some people went to Oakland, you know what I mean? But other than that, there's really no other place to go. So people just kind of spread out, and then everything head back out to over by towards Market, and the Mission District is, you know, pretty much close to Market Street, and so a lot of the people from the old Hunters Point went into the Mission. And then those people, they started buying up the Mission and fixing that up. And then those people getting displaced. And the next thing you go, all these homeless people everywhere, nowhere to live, no way to do anything. They're taking shits all over the street. Why is everyone shitting all over the streets in San Francisco? That's why. Because you took away where they were living. They don't have any place else to go. Where are they supposed to go? You know, and
well, now you're stepping up to take them off the streets with the public health measures, right? If this is, and well, so now we've got the camps in place where we can start putting these troublesome types.
Yeah.
I don't want them spoiling the view for the oligarchs that want to come and live in San Fran. Well, that's lifestyle.
You nailed it there, Doc. That is exactly what's going on here. Okay, so the oligarchs are taking control. The oligarchs and the authoritarian countries that are run by them are all working together to end democracy in the world, right? And they want those nice, cool places like San Francisco and, you know, La Jolla, California, and you know, Miami Beach, whatever. That's where they're going to go, right? And they don't need any of these riffraff floating around, you know. So, you know,
and
yeah,
you know,
that's true.
And check this out. So one of the things that they built over there in that area I was just telling you about used to be the old shipyards where they dumped chemicals for all those years before it was illegal. It's kind of like Big Trouble in Little China, you might say, over there, because they've been dumping chemicals in there, like I said, for probably 50 years before they stopped doing it. It became a super site, I'm sure. And guess what they built there? Yeah, came in, built a brand new Kaiser Hospital right there, right on that same spot. Yeah, and check it out. They built some condos over there too. And what's that? A playground for kids, swings and all stuff. Yeah. So I don't know, man. People don't seem like they got your best interest at heart, ladies and gentlemen, around here, and you know that's a problem, because I mean, isn't that what we pay taxes for? Isn't that the expectation? Don't we not have a contract with the government of the United States of America? Have they? I'm finding them to be in breach of their contract with me. Okay, I no longer recognize their authority because they are in breach of contract. Okay, they have not lived up to their agreement with me, nor anybody else that lives in America. They have not upheld our Constitution. They have not guaranteed our rights like they said they were supposed to. So for me, that's a major problem. Okay, because if I was in a deal with you, if you and I were in a deal, okay, you and I had a deal, and you broke your part of the contract, deal's over, right? So,
well, Jimmy, why do you think they want to take away your guys' Second Amendment rights? Because that's the guarantee for that contract is your Second Amendment rights, and that's what's one of the major things that's being attacked right now in the States is that Second Amendment. And like you said, that's what you guys need right now. You need that guarantee against the government because they broke the contract.
There it is. I mean, listen, the quickest way to choke off this government is to cut off its fucking food supply, which is your tax dollars. You know? Start thinking about
it. Again, I would just say that the monetary systems are not like we imagine them. It's not like if we were growing up, the financial instruments that are at play, they keep it around because it's an illusion to keep you in the debt trap. right? And when people are in debt trap, they become easier to control. They've got to pay off the mortgage. They want the fancy new car, so they'll get into debt for it. But the governments themselves, they can just keep conjuring stuff out of thin air and tell you, oh God, we've got an inflation problem. Right, and in your mind, or most people's mind, they'll think, oh yeah, of course that's going to be the case because we've borrowed a bit, but money doesn't work like that nowadays, and until people sort of wise up to that, and I know it's hard to break out of that system, but one of the first things is don't sell yourself to them, because you're selling yourself to them by agreeing to take on debt.
Right? Well, the thing is, it's like that movie Network where the dude says, man, I'll buy the tires, or whatever. I'll just leave me alone in my house. People have agreed to the slave system, okay, because they like the quality of life they had in America. They didn't fight against the slave system. They just leaned into it. They rented lifestyles they couldn't afford because they were under the impression that the gravy train wasn't ever going to end. And there's somebody standing there right now turning off the gravy train on purpose. You can listen, this country will not survive 30 days with $10 diesel. You're going to have a $50. How much is it going to cost for you to get a loaf of bread, man, from the place that baked it to your store?
You've got that Chinese commie-looking bitch coming out and saying that she's part of the Biden administration. I can't remember her name, but literally I watched it this week saying we're going to bankrupt the oil and petro industries, right? That's their aim, right? This is part of their strategy to usher in this smart city.
Well, let me just tell you
dystopia.
how I mean, I want to use the F word. I'm real bad. Let me just tell you how ridiculous that is. They're already saying that my power is gonna go out at Christmas time. Where's all the power supposed to come from for these electric cars, man? If they can't even fucking supply me the power that I deserve with the taxes I'm paying living in California. Why am I living in a third world country where my power goes out? Why do I have to worry that my food's gonna go bad, that I had to pay so much for? It's inflated. I had to go down and pay $9 for a gallon of milk. I'm exaggerating, but it's close. It's $5, $4, $3. Who cares? I'm paying way too much for that glass of milk, but check it out. My power goes out, my milk goes bad. My hamburger went bad. My freezer didn't work. Grandma's eating cat food, freezing to death over there because natural gas is too expensive. But natural gas is about as prevalent as oxygen on the country. So I mean, everything is. I keep saying that it seems like there's people working in the halls of our government against the will of the American people, against the contract that we have with them. And I don't appreciate it, and I don't think a lot of Americans appreciate it either. And I want to put it in the context of a contract, because it says I'm supposed to be secure in my person and my papers, man. So you don't have a right to ask me for my papers, man. It's as simple as that. My papers are
paper. Your phone's not paper. That's the thing, right? That's the excuse they'll get around.
Twisting the words, all the words start changing.
Got it.
You got to go by that original 1795 dictionary, when they wrote that stuff. That's the thing too. There's been a deliberate effort to change the meaning of words over time. Specifically, I believe for that reason. Like it's a long-term
look
goal.
What they did with vaccine in the last year, or last couple of months. Vaccine is like everyone kind of understood what that meant, right? Mm-hmm. You've had to have shots. You kind of knew that this vaccine would stop the spread and stop you getting something. But now they've changed it. Merriam-Webster's dictionary and the CDC, and it just means a treatment to prevent disease. Right, or to help disease is basically how you could read it. Not a sterilizing vaccine that stops a disease in it, from spreading to person. I'm sorry to cut you off, Epic.
Well, like smallpox, yeah, exactly.
That just makes the whole vaccine then no different than the Tylenol cold and flu stuff you can buy over the counter at your local pharmacy.
There you go.
Yep.
Now let me tell you something.
It's as effective as that against fighting this kind of stuff. Like, the
We
whole
love our
vaccine
house.
thing, man. It's I'm amazed at how quickly the entire Western society sold itself out for this thing. And bought it hook, line, and sinker. What the media, the governments, and the pharmaceutical companies were selling them. You know, like straight from the beginning, 15 days, and we'll all be good. Oh, now we got a lockdown for 2 months. Oh, no, now it's 6 months with the lockdown. And then once the lockdown's done, we got this vaccine ready for you guys. You take the vaccine, everything's going to be good. Oh, no, now we got to keep the lockdowns going. You got to get your 6-month vaccine updates every 6 months now. And we have a pill that you got to take daily that's going to be coming out in the next 3 months. Like, it just keeps going and going and going. It's never going to end. That's like what people don't realize. We sold our rights out, and they're just going to keep taking and taking and forcing until we're either dead or completely capitulated to their whims.
Yeah, it's going to be one in the arm or one in the head. It's your choice. Let me save your life or I'll kill you. Right now, let me save your life or I'll ruin your whole life. I'll ruin it. You can't work. You can't go to the store. You can't do jack squat. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening to this on Wednesday morning, you're going to find the rest of this conversation up at Aftermath FM in the podcast section. We're here with Doc Kevin McCarran. You can find him at McCarranDojo.com. We're here with Mike from Conspirazone. Mike, do you guys have a place where people can go check you out, Conspirazone?
Just on Aftermath FM, and eventually, probably this weekend, depends on if I can get my new logo and stuff finished. The show will be changing names.
Badass.
As Ron Patton and I are no longer doing the podcast together. Ron needed to spend some more time with his family, so he decided to take Sunday nights off, which is awesome.
Excellent. All right. Well, I'm looking forward to it, man. Let us know. Let us know, man. We'll be happy to come over and hang out with you some night.
For sure.
All right, we'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen. Remember, Aftermath FM, $79 for the year, $10 a month. Do it now before that ends. I don't know when it's going to end, but it will end at some point. And when it does, time will be up. But in the meantime, join us over there at Aftermath FM. Find this podcast or where podcasts can be found all across the internet. It's in the microcosm. It's Aftermath FM.
We came here to entertain you, leaving here we aggravate you. Don't you know it means the same to me? Honey, I'm the one you love. Come on, baby, show your love. Hi, give it to me. I see a glow that fills this room. I see it rolling out of you. Hear your message from above. I'm telling you. Show! Come on and show your love. Show your love, babe.
Don't regret growing old. It's a privilege denied to many. Heart disease is taking our youth from us. Young people in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and beyond are dying needlessly. One of the hardest messages I've ever had to deliver is to convince people that something natural like Extendivite should be taken as a preventative measure. I'm sure you heard an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Extendivite is that ounce. Take Extendivite for 1 year and see what your doctor has to say and how much better you feel. Herbs take time to address the problem. It took years of life to have a problem. Give Extendivite 1 year to fix the problem. Don't wait until it's too late. Call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com or visit us on Amazon.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Well, don't forget.
Jimmy, I've got a question. Right, with all this talk about heart attacks, I'm wondering, is Extendivite in on this scam?
No,
30-year-olds, 40-year-olds.
No, Extendivite would help you from this, I think, because of what's in there. because there's garlic, there's I think there's bilberries in there. Well, I don't know what's in there, but I know this. I spent a lot of time sitting, you know, because I'm in front of the computer and just in the studio, and there was I was starting to feel this my feet, man. I was starting to feel a little numbness or whatever. And so I got some extended bite from my mom. Don sent some because he's a friend of Kev's, and he sent some over for my mom. She wasn't doing too well, and so there's a couple of bottles there, and so I started taking some for myself. And after about a month, might have been a little longer, like more like month and a half. I just all of a sudden one day just noticed that it was gone. That was helping my my
circulation.
Yeah, my circulation. Maybe the garlic. What I don't know. We know what it's doing scientifically, but maybe the garlic's just burning that plastic out of my body. Hey, stand by for a second.
June 1st, 1996. John and Joyce Edmonds purchased a ranch in Rainbow Valley, Arizona. What has ensued for the past 2+ decades defies all accepted understanding of our reality. Portals, aliens, abductions, incursions, and life-threatening confrontations. Stardust Ranch has become one of the most compelling paranormal stories of the last quarter century, studied by multiple agencies, public and private, and featured on countless documentaries, including Ghost Hunters. Stardust Ranch remains one of the most compelling mysteries of our time. Get your copy of Stardust Ranch, The Incredible True Story, available exclusively on Amazon in Kindle, paperback, and hardcover.
I was on fire for you. Where did you go? I could have died for you. How could you not know? I was alive with you. You brought in the cold.
Monday through Friday.
Was I being lied to?
Right here, immediately following Claudius Ground Zero, you'll find us. I want to say howdy to TalkStream Live, number 5, and we're still alive.
Thinking about you. Just stops.
Oh yeah. So yeah, it's we got about 30 minutes left, everybody. Hey Cecilia, it's good to see you. Good to see you, SF. Good to see you, Walking Axel. Hey Chris, what's happening? Cindy, Robin, Into the Microcosm, Scott, Aaron, Drone Man, what's happening? Yeah, so Feminem, it's good to see everybody over in the chat room. Into the Microcosm, Jimmy Jane Strike Zone. That's where you can find us, find all our shows. We're there every night, so if you want to join us in the chat room there, we got one. There's one over here at Aftermath Discord. You can join that chat room. Wherever you want to go, man, there's plenty of places to find like-minded individuals around this station and this show. We're all into trying to seek the truth, wherever that may take us. And, sometimes it takes you in uncomfortable places, man, You got to look sometimes when you're looking for something, you got to stick your hand down in the stinky hole and see what comes out. And sometimes, you got to do it. Somebody's got to do it. There's somebody doing that job somewhere, like in New York.
Looking for catfish, right?
Yeah.
To get a snapping turtle.
Yeah, in New York, there's guys their whole lives they feed their families by floating around on boats and hooking through the pipes to clear out the junk that people flush down the toilet, to keep everything flowing. I mean, somebody makes a living doing that. Somebody's got to do it, right? If somebody didn't do it, it wouldn't get done, and then what would happen? The toilets would back up, just like they're backing up in America right now. I think we need to clear the drains right now. So send somebody up to Washington with some hooks, and let's pull out the big chunks of dirty diapers and stuff, and people have been flushing down the toilet up there. Let's clear the pipes, man. I don't know. It may be too late. Maybe we should just get out the old wrecking ball and start over, I don't know. I mean, you see what I mean?
Yeah, this is the again. I would say don't let them draw you in right now. If you're able to, I get it. If you've got kids and you live in, someone's talking about, is it okay to be living in apartment blocks and what have you? You know what? Maybe an apartment block might not be that bad an idea if you can keep the utilities on and running. At least it's somewhat sort of self-contained, and you have to get to know your neighbors. But
it comes a city-state, right? Like old Greece.
Right.
Well,
it's just the philosophers at the top. Just it gets the basement. But
yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to say what I'm saying. What I'm talking about, I'm not trying to say things are hopeless, man. I'm trying to say what I'm wondering is why where is it that the people's voice gets heard is all I'm trying to figure out. Where do we get to talk to, where does the people's voice get heard? Because isn't it supposed to be the smallest voice in this country is supposed to be just as loud as the biggest voice? Isn't this whole country based on minority people being able to have a voice? Why are all of a sudden everything's topsy-turvy? Haven't they not been saying that because we live in a democratic republic, it's not majority rules? If there's too many white people voting, is that majority rules? I don't. Everybody's got to vote, right? Supposedly, right? but
Yeah.
Because it's a republic, if you're not in the majority, you still have a voice here. That's what this country's built on, that premise. So that should work all the way down the line, right? I mean.
Yeah, but look, what's bigger belief when I went to the United States was they treat corporations, they give the same rights to corporations as they do people, living people. And that to me is this critical failure point that's being exploited right now, because these people have the resources of countries now.
Yeah, and the thing is because they're people, they have the right to lobby their congressmen and their senators, which means they have, I think there's 3 lobbyists per congressperson, and each one of those people gets paid between $60,000 and $120,000 a year to go up in there and pass out Rolexes or whatever, do whatever they do. You know what I mean? So think about that as a workforce. How many Congress people are there? You know, how many hundred of people? There's 200 something.
Well, no, there's 470 something. No, 500, closer to 500. But it should be according to the First Amendment, the original First Amendment that never got passed, right? It should be 1 per 10,000 people in the country, and they upped it to make it 1 per 40,000. But no matter how you look at it, we should still have 40,000 representatives approximately. That would solve this problem. You can't lobby 40,000 people. You know what I mean? It should be more, not less.
So there's 1,200 lobbyists up there, roughly.
Oh, at least, yeah. K
So
Street
they're all
insures
sitting in it.
multiple
Yeah,
thousands.
they're all sitting in there. It's going, yeah, Bob, here's this bill. Check it out. We wrote it for you. It's perfect. Look at it. Don't worry about it. No one's gonna read it. It's fucking 10,000 pages long. We gotta pass it before we could read it. Don't you know? It's America.
Like the Patriot Act.
Nancy Pelosi can't even lift it, let alone read it. I mean, obviously, should something be passed that hasn't been read just because of the cover? It's like clicking on something because of the headline or not reading the article. Here's the headline on Drudge. You never read the article, and you go running around saying the headline. You mean,
Right. I have a living example of that, man. My spook job, I was chasing submarines around. Call it spook job, right? But it's just chasing submarines around. It's a military contractor in a sense, right? DOD. And that was, you know how that was, we got our funding? The Clean Air Act. It was a deal made on the golf course with Lloyd Benson, who was a senator from Texas at the time, who put it as a writer in the Clean Air Act. That's where funding came from. So and this is typical of most anything that gets done in America, going way back now. They add these writers to all these bills, and that's how they get these people to vote in their district, right? And of course, How do those things get pushed by whoever that might be? It's because of bribes, essentially. I mean, literally, of those representatives, congressmen, or the senators. And until we get money out of politics, it'll never change. You know, in the Citizens United Act, when that got approved by the Supreme Court, which I still can't believe, and made corporations people, we're screwed. We're screwed until that goes away. It's never going to be fixed until that's removed.
Yeah, so it seems. So I was talking. I think it was Saturday we were talking, but I was sort of saying, you know, our institutions have basically failed us right now, and you know, there was this idea that turning on the money hose and you know, making it hyper competitive with respect to publications, etc., that would be a way of bringing the best out of science and those institutions, whereas it wasn't. It was literally a slow-acting poison. Depends. Slow is just relative, right? But my solution was that we have to make those institutions more monastic-like, and I would guess it's the same with, if you're going into politics, you're doing it as a sort of, I don't know, like I get with Americans that there's this sort of visceral response to clergy sort of having a say, right? A particular church. I mean, you know, that was the fuss around Kennedy, right? That he was a Catholic at the time, and the same in the UK, right?
Yeah, the first Catholic.
So, but
well, you know, what are we gonna do in the future? That, you know, I mean, obviously, what is the whole reason to have a corporation in the first place? Is to shield yourself from liability, so to keep your personal money from going out there in case some shit happens. So, man, remove the corporate veil, okay? And all of a sudden, when you become liable for everything's going to fucking change right there on the spot. Just like in Europe, they don't allow genetically modified organisms in the food source because they're over there at socialized medicine. They're paying for it. They don't want you in the hospital. But over here in America, well, we got a medicine for profit system. So come on down and test your GMOs over here on us, because, you know, hey, we got doctors, you know, we got prescriptions, and we're ready to roll. You know,
and all those doctors, this is the really perverse thing, is that they're all paying off loans, so they need this high salary for one. And like, you want skilled people, and you want to be able to sort of entice them in. And I'm not saying you go down the communist route and it becomes the workers.
Well, I mean, honestly, I mean, for me, I see something in Cuba, and what I see is doctors getting paid $20 an hour. Okay, but when you become a doctor, you're not doing it for the money. You're making $20 an hour, and so is every other doctor. Okay, the thing is, man, when it starts becoming about you're doing it for helping people and you're doing it for the money. Why did you become a doctor, Bob? Well, you know, I wanted to have the blonde wife, and I wanted to drive the Corvette, man, and I wanted to live in that White House with the big old, you know, porch up there, and, you know, not because I wanted to save lives or because I wanted to change humanity or whatever. There's lots of people go into medicine for different reasons, you know, but I would say there's a good portion of people that go into medicine, whether it be nursing, doctors, whatever it is, they go into it for the money. Just like lawyers go into it for the money. You know, when your kid is a small kid in school and he wants to go be something where he's going to make a lot of money, what do you tell him to do? Become a doctor. Go be a lawyer, right? Or go be the president of a corporation.
Yeah.
Look at a president of corporation's parachute. Look at that. Look how much money they get. Go ahead. I'm just saying.
No, I was going to kind of bring in the perverse incentives, which are that in some cases it pays them to run it into the ground, right? Because one, there's these golden parachutes, but this ever escalating cost and lifestyle that you're associating with positions that essentially, you want some humanity behind the mask, right? But when they're slicing you open, and I guess you could argue that there's in the US, if you can land a claim through medical malpractice, the payouts can be generous.
Well, that's why they say, oh, well, we got to charge so much because we got to pay so much insurance because we have malpractice. Man, go
because they have their lobbyists, the AMA, right? The American Medical Association is their lobby firm.
Go look at the amount of people that were killed in mistakes inside of hospitals.
Yeah, it's enormous.
It's insane, man. And you can see that's why they don't want to take responsibility. Nobody wants to take responsibility. You know what? Somebody is going to take responsibility for making you roll up your sleeve. Okay, listen. If it's not going to be the government, it's not going to be the pharmaceutical company. They're not liable. Nobody's liable. Guess what? Your employer told you to do it. You sue your employer. Your employer is going to be liable now because he made you do it, and he's got no protection. So you're going to go after him. And I'm gonna pull this case up here that I got here to let you know. Washington versus Harper, 494 U.S. 210, 1990. This is a case precedence. Respondent Harper has been the ward of Washington State penal system since 1976 robbery conviction. Both as an inmate and while temporarily on parole, he received psychiatric treatment, including the consensual administration of antipsychotic drugs. He's engaged in violent conduct and is, he has deteriorated when he did not take the drugs. On 2 occasions, he was transferred to a special offender center. Basically, this is a case where it is not legal for anybody to inject you with anything. So this is a case precedence here. I'll drop it in. I'll give it to you, Doc. You can give it the once. Give it the once.
The ruling being that they can't force injections onto you.
No.
Mm. Yeah, which is, but again, this is why you're seeing the psychological operations taking place, which is for people to do it consensually. They believe that they're getting a classical vaccine, right? This is why they won't talk about it being a form of gene therapy, right? That you'll get hunted down if I leave this stream out for talking about these therapies. Like I said, they've been established for decades. We can. I was talking about this the last stream. We were sort of breaking down the dialogue between some academic and one of the members of Drastic. His name is Yuri Dagin. But Yuri Dagin, member of Drastic, is heavily into vaccine technology for anti-aging, and this is. That there's no admission on his part because he has a conflict of interest with respect to he's got his own company, right? He's got his own company, and people are listening to this group because a lot of academics and individuals contributed a lot of work to breaking the idea that there's a lab basis to what SARS-CoV-2 is, which means that it's got the hand of man on it, and we know that that's just going to be bad news all around. But somehow he's finagled his way into being like the spokesperson. He gets around on a number of large podcasts, etc. So Brett Weinstein, however you want to say his name, Dark Horse, so it's close to sort of Joe Rogan, and these individuals, well, I'm trying to warn people away from people that seem to be bearing gifts, right? And that they're not. And you have to, this comes back to the doctors. So once you get the doctors into their career path, right? The way that the really good doctors go is they get their PhD and they get this lab and funding, and that's what sends them down this perpetuating system, right? And they feel that they deserve more than, because they got their MD, PhD, right? That they should get more than what's needed to pay back the loans, etc. And it becomes a very vicious cycle because these people have a product that they want to push onto you. Because I was talking about Moderna earlier, having they're selling the fact that this lipid nanoparticle penetrates into the bone marrow. The very core of your being, sort of responsible for your blood supply, especially. And where does the buck stop? Nowhere. The liability comes back down to you, and you agreeing to the terms with these people. And you have to strip away the fact that they can put a good act on by donning the white coat and hanging a stethoscope around their neck. Right? And like you're saying, if they can survive on $20 an hour in what's it called? I was going to say Chile, not Chile. What's that island, Jimmy?
Cuba.
Talking about?
Yeah, Cuba.
Cuba. Again, I think that this is an argument for we have to make these institutions more monastic and more public service driven, and you've got to reduce the perverse incentives that come from money and a money supply that's being ever more expanded through these financial instruments that they keep inventing.
The buying power of all that money that's sitting in the bank is being dwindled away every single day. The more the inflation goes up, the less the money that's sitting in the bank is worth. If I had, let me just say, if somebody had $100,000 in the bank cash right now, I would take. I mean, if I did, I'd probably go down and spend that whole $100,000 on gold, just because to protect myself from inflation. Because my money's sitting there, and every day inflation goes up. Interest rates on your credit cards go up. They're sitting there, making all kinds of money. You're paying like 3 times as much for something, and they're getting 17% interest on that 3 times as much that you're paying, because you can't afford it. So you got to live on credit cards, right? So you're buying shit at twice the price, and you're paying 20% interest on it on top of it. And then you got to show up, and then you got fired, man. You can't make the payment now.
They can fire you for not taking. I know a lot of people that, on principle, have walked away from jobs, but there's a critical point here: that usury-driven capitalism, where there's one set of rules for the everyday man, and then there's another set of rules for banks and the digital economy, let's say, for want of a better expression, that they can just keep playing with zeros all the time and adding them and shifting them. And look, a lot of what's happening around pharmaceuticals, I would argue, is that the way the system keeps perpetuating is they have to keep the money moving. That's the key. It has to move from sort of corporation to corporation, and in doing so, it drags humanity around with it. And you could argue that it's just swirling around the plug hole of the bath as it's emptying out. But someone sucked all that water away, and they're living a lifestyle that was the middle class. How much in the US now do you have to earn to have a middle class lifestyle? Well, you got to be on a few $100,000 a year.
At least 200. Yeah.
Yep. You need in this. It's been said that here in the Bay Area, San Francisco Bay Area, you need a couple. If you're a couple, you got to each be making $60 an hour.
Wow.
There ain't no $60 an hour jobs around here, just to let you know. Not unless you're a union electrician. But I'm just saying, there's not a lot of those jobs.
Or you're working in Silicon Valley and automating away the jobs that most people did do.
Those jobs.
This is why I think UBI is inevitable.
Yeah.
Right. They know they're going to have. What happens when the truck drivers are automated away? Because that's coming. That's real close. That's real close.
Mm-hmm. It is. Well, I mean, you know, they got to get rid of the drivers so they can pay for that $10 a gallon diesel coming in California.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're almost out of time. Tell everybody where they can find you, Doc.
www.mccairndojo, MCCAIRN.com. Dojo, like karatedojo.com. And Discord is open if you want to join the Discord. We're up to date with all that's happening. It's culture war and biological war in there, so come join the party. And I guess I'll be back next Tuesday.
Sweet. Well, tomorrow night, Epic Journeyman sent me the Oculus, and so I got the virtual reality, and he's got it. We're gonna get it set up. We're gonna be doing the show in virtual reality soon. He's gonna, we're gonna do it, man, and he's gonna get me squared away. So I'm excited about that. Hopefully, it'll be sooner rather than later. Maybe even
we could do part of it tonight to get you all set up.
Yeah,
and all you listeners out there who have a VR headset, you special folks can come out over and join us in one of our hosted rooms in VR one of these days. So
that's right.
Come on down.
One of these days, soon, man.
Yep.
Soon. All right.
I'll have to dig mine out.
You got one? You got
not Oculus, the Steam. I forgot what it's called. Vive.
You got a Vive? Oh, good. Yeah. Or you have a Valve Index.
Yeah. So
Vive is that old
HTC Vive. Yeah, well, that's good. It'll get you through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Epic can get you squared away, man. He's the virtual reality guru around here. So and then Rio's gonna have a set, and I know that Billy Ray Valentine's he said he bought his kids one, so I know he's got one. So this is gonna turn into a party inside one of these 3D rooms for us, but you guys will be able to see it on YouTube. So I'm excited, man. I'm looking forward to it. All right, man. Let's get the hell out of here. I'm tired. I think I'll go home now.
Guess out the VR.
I'll see you guys later, eh?
Yeah, take it easy.
Take it easy, everybody. This Aftermath FM. It's into the microcosm. Hey, don't give up. You're not alone either. We ain't going out. We ain't going out like that. We out. So we're done over there.
All right, we're out.
So yeah, we're done. So hey, Mike, you still here?
Yeah.
Sweet. That was some great stuff you had there, man. So do you guys want to hang out for a bit? I don't know if you wanted to or not, but if you do, let me bone over here. So I need to go check the perimeter.
I got to pull because I've got another stream I've got to do in
Okay,
a little
10-4.
bit.
We'll see you, Doc. Thanks for being here, bro.
Yeah, no worries.
Me and Jimmy will hook up the VR experience. So
yeah.
So let me just ask, what are you using? Just the Oculus that's out there right now? For,
So Jimmy's got the Quest. That's what I sent over. I have a bunch of headsets. That's why I'm able to send one over to Rio. He's going to get the Samsung Odyssey Plus. I have a couple of Pimax headsets and the Valve Index and the HP Reverb G2 and some other. I have a bunch of headsets, right? All the way back to development kits when they were first started in 2013.
I mean, have they moved on from the HTC Vive